Good morning, everyone. How are you? I hope you are all fine. In teaching English as a foreign language, dealing with the first chapter, the self-developed language teacher. In self-developed language teacher, there are two questions. Does the self-development make a difference? What factors are central to teacher self-development? In the first question, does the self-development make difference? So we have differences between Yoshi's classroom and Kathy's classroom. The first is the classroom of teacher Yoshi, who has not had the opportunity to work on the development of his teaching. The second is that the teacher of a teacher Kathy, who has taken on the responsibility for her own development. If you go to the first class, Yoshi's class, he graduated from geography department, and he has to teach English in two groups of business people. In his classroom, let's take a look inside of one of his classes. We will find that Yoshi, in his usual lockstep fashion, he is only standing in fixed one place. Lockstep fashion begins by telling them to open their books. Then Yoshi reads introductory paragraphs aloud. After his reading tape, he plays the tape recording related to the textbook or reading, and then asks the student to explain their paraphrasing the meaning and give the explanation of the vocabulary words which are difficult for the student, and he asks the student to use bilingual dictionaries. Yoshi expand on each of the questions, sometimes offering Japanese translation. And we find that finally summarize that the content of the tape and the textbook. We have some minutes that the Yoshi use in his classroom. He did not using the student more speaking English. Some of the students most of time use English language. He realized that his geography degree has not prepared him to be a teacher language, and he wondered how he may change his way of teaching. So finally he considers the idea of going to a bookstore to look for books and of teaching English. Whereas in Kathy's classroom, we will find that she graduated from a history department, and she teach 4-year classroom or 4-year English. In English, they are advanced students. The students seem to enjoy in Kathy's classroom or lessons that she usually combine listening, speaking, reading, and writing. These are the 4 language skills are very important. In each lesson, we should give our student these 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Kathy raced to the classroom 5 minutes early to put pictures on the wall of the people using various gestures and to put this message on the board. The message is: study the pictures on the wall. What do you think the gestures mean? Feel free to talk with your neighbor. Be sure to speak in English. So what is the reason for what is the reason behind these things that has done by Kathy? The first, she is bored by how long it usually takes to begin the class, and the second, she wants to explore how she can get students to speak in English spontaneously with each other. So the objectives, her purpose or the goal. The objective of this study of this day is to see if the student would silently read the message on the blackboard and study picture and start to talk in English. This is the main purpose in her classroom, teaching classroom, is to make her student to talk in English. After that, she has used her student to use English. and get attention to the point of if she has pointed to the pictures or make some non-verbal behavior like eye contact, gestures, and use of space, as well as different ways to express meaning in different cultures. So, and Kathy then has the student to select piece of candy in order to make 4 groups, like a lemon group on the right or grape group on the front or line to the left. So she uses to make her her class to divide the student into many groups in order to teach them and to make it the class interesting. As Kathy walks out of the classroom, she has mixed feeling about the lesson. Her exploration with the message and pictures seems somewhat successful. She started the class quickly, and some of the students use English. The students are also stayed on the tasks during the class. This is very important. And she was also concerned that she did not give them feedback on their language. Perhaps if she gave them more feedback, they would want to use more English. If we go to the other topic, that the comparison between Yoshi's and Kathy's teaching. We have many points to dealing with that. The first point is the style of teaching. In order to make differences between Yoshi and Kathy, the first point is style of teaching. What is the style of teaching of Yoshi and what is the style of teaching of Kathy? And the style of teaching of Yoshi goes through his lessons in more or less lockstep fashion. It means that he only standing without moving around the classroom. So he uses Kathy, whereas in Kathy design her own lesson and bring innovation ideas of her teaching. Yoshi follow a course diagram in which he leads into topic with the tape, follow the reading selection, a comprehension question, and another reading and discussion question, while in contrast with the Kathy, that she doesn't seem to rely on one way of teaching rather than she's making herself the center of attention. She consciously looks for ways to make the class community of the learner in which the student feel free to communicate with each other in English. This is a very important point. Let your student to communicate freely in English language. Here we have a question: why Kathy explores creative way to teach while Yoshi does not? One reason is likely because Kathy went through the intensive training program. And we have the second differences between Yoshi and Kathy classroom is that related to the background or cultural background has something to do with the differences. Kathy is the native speaker of English who comes from America, while Yoshi has the same native language and cultural background as the students. So Kathy has English language while Yoshi has from the same of the students. So what we are talking about Yoshi is from Japanese, I think. Okay. Although the student want Yoshi to learn native English speaker to use English with them in class. It is maybe too difficult for Yoshi since he likely to speak Japanese. Okay, as we have mentioned that his cultural background is Japanese, while Kathy, no, his background is comes from America, so he is native speaker of English. If you go to the third differences is setting. The setting may be also the factor. Yoshi teaches in a corporate world, a setting where in many cases student business responsibility to take proceeds over English classes and homework assignments, while in Kathy teaches at high school where many of the students are quite motivated to learn English. and other language. If you go to the fourth point about the differences between them, is that the way that they approach their development as teacher. While Kathy is eager to take an responsibility for her own development, Yoshi is now just realized that he needs to do this. Okay. If you go to the what factors are central to teach self-development, so we have many factors. We have 7 factors to deal how the teacher develop herself or himself. The first factor is time. Time is very important because in order to develop yourself, it's consuming more time to develop yourself. The development is important, need to make commitment to devote time to their development. If you go to the another second factor, ongoing commitment. Ongoing commitment, the teacher should be continue comment about how to develop himself in teaching or herself in teaching. So development is enhanced when the teacher makes a commitment to ongoing development. Here we have example. Although many would call Kathy's teaching style developed, she continues to think about her teaching and its consequences on students, especially about creating a more learner-centered classroom that engage students in learning to be communicatively competent in English. This is very important things. If you go to the third factor, problem solving. In problem solving, the teacher realizes that the problems and work to solve it. Okay, for example, Kathy exploring into getting the class, starting quickly, and her interest is to getting student to use more English. So she comes to the class earlier before the student come to class. She comes to the class and to explain their way of teaching to them in order to solve the problems. Number 4, the exploration's sake. So we have another example. In order to solve a problem, we should still exploring simply way to explore, not just to solve a problem, but also to how to create a new interesting environment for the students in order to teach English language, make them interesting. The 5th factor is enhanced by paying attention to and reviewing the basics of EFL, ESL teaching. EFL, it means that English for foreign language. ESL, it means that English for English as a second language. Although Kathy's introduction to the basics began during her training, she has continuous steady ways to create opportunities for students to interact in English. So we should continue in order to adopt it or creating new way of teaching that should be connected or integrating reading, writing, listening, and speaking, as we have mentioned previously on the Kathy's class, that she is connected between them in one classroom. The number 6 searching factor is dealing with the searching out opportunities to develop. It means that if you turn to the Kathy talks with other teacher, so we should going to dealing with the other opportunities, to dealing with the other students, to make ask them to give them ask them to give the opinion, to give like what we call it advices. Okay, the teacher should read about teaching, should attend teaching seminar. The teacher should attend conferences, workshop, and should participate in other activities. This is the important role of the teacher. The teacher should attend conference in order to get more information, in order to be used in their teaching. And we have the last factor, self-development. The last factor is dealing with the self-development of teaching beliefs and practices requires the cooperation of others. So the last factor is how to cooperate with others. It takes others who are willing to observe us, listen to us, and talk with us about our teaching. So in order to cooperate with others, in order to cooperate with others with the self-development is very difficult, and we should deal with the how to listen, how to observe, how to talk in order to cooperation with other teachers. Thank you for your listening.